Zoe married me because I was safe. She told me that on our third date like it was a compliment. I was 24, she was 22, and I thought safe meant stable and reliable. Took me 5 years to understand she meant boring, controllable, someone who would never challenge her because I was too grateful she picked me. We lived in a duplex her parents helped us rent. The neighbor on the other side was Leroy, divorced guy in his 30s who worked from home doing something with websites. Zoe was always friendly with him. Too friendly. But I worked 60 hours a week between my warehouse job and overnight stocking at a grocery chain. So what did I know about who she talked to during the day? Last Thursday was our anniversary. I switched shifts with a coworker specifically to surprise her. Picked up dinner from the Italian place she loved, the one we went to on our first date. Had a card in my jacket pocket. I even bought flowers at the gas station on my way home because I knew she liked the cheap ones better than fancy arrangements. I came in through the back door because I wanted to set everything up before she saw me. That's when I heard them on the front porch through the screen door. Zoe and Leroy sitting out there like they did most afternoons apparently. She was laughing about something and then she said it. He's pathetic, honestly. Thinks working those extra hours makes him a real man when really he's just running away from home. I'm glad I don't have to pretend I'm attracted to him anymore. Leroy laughed and told her she could do so much better than this. And Zoe said, trust me, I already am. I stood there holding a bag of chicken parmesan and garlic bread and a sad little bouquet of carnations. 5 years. 5 years of me killing myself to build something for us while she sat on our porch talking about me like I was a joke she didn't want to tell anymore. Yo, I need everyone to sit with the image of this man standing in his own kitchen, anniversary dinner getting cold in his hands, gas station carnations because he knew his wife preferred those, like he paid attention to the small things, and through that screen door he's hearing his entire marriage get cremated in real time. This dude switched shifts. He coordinated with co-workers. He planned the restaurant from their first date. And she's out there on the porch he pays for, laughing with the neighbor about how pathetic her husband is for checks notes, working too hard to provide for her. The audacity to mock someone's work ethic while you're literally unemployed and entertaining the neighbor all day. That's a special kind of delusion that only comes from never facing a single consequence in your entire life. I put the food down on the kitchen counter, set the flowers next to it, took my card back because she didn't deserve to read what I wrote in it. Then I walked out the back door the same way I came in and drove to my buddy Franklin's place without saying a word to either of them. Franklin let me crash on his couch without asking questions. That's the kind of friend he is. I turned my phone off that night because I needed to think without her voice in my head trying to spin this into something that was somehow my fault. When I turned it back on Saturday morning, I had 47 missed calls from Zoe, 23 voicemails, probably 100 texts. The first few were confused, asking where I was, if I was okay. Then they got annoyed, telling me this wasn't funny and I needed to come home so we could talk. By the last one, she was crying, saying she didn't understand what was happening and please just tell her what she did wrong. What she did wrong. Like she genuinely didn't know. Here's the thing though. I'm not some beaten down guy who's going to cry into his pillow and beg her to explain why she hurt me. I've been the provider, the planner, the one who handles everything for 5 years. Our lease, our bills, our car insurance. Everything runs through me because Zoe never wanted to deal with adult responsibilities. Which means everything can stop running through me too. I haven't responded to a single message yet. I'm letting her panic. I'm letting her wonder. Because for the first time in our marriage, I have information she doesn't. And I'm going to use every bit of leverage I've built up over 5 years of being the pathetic husband who apparently doesn't know his wife is sleeping with the neighbor. She wants to know what she did wrong. She's about to find out exactly how much. Shout out to Franklin, by the way. Every man needs a Franklin. Dude didn't ask questions, didn't try to give advice, just handed over the couch and let his boy process. That's brotherhood. But also, 47 missed calls transitioning from, where are you, to this isn't funny, to full breakdown crying. That progression tells you everything about how this woman's brain works. She went from confusion to annoyance before she even considered that maybe something was actually wrong. Her husband vanishes on their anniversary, and her second emotional stage is being irritated that he's not responding fast enough. That's not a wife worried about her partner, that's someone mad their routine got disrupted. And I love that Trent took the card back. That card probably had 5 years of genuine emotion in it, and he understood in that moment. Nah, she doesn't get to see this. She doesn't get to know what she threw away. Update 1. So I finally talked to Zoe. And by talked, I mean she showed up at Franklin's apartment complex Monday evening because she remembered where he lived from a barbecue 2 years ago. I was walking to my car after grabbing my work bag when I saw her Corolla parked next to my truck. She got out looking like she hadn't slept in 3 days. Good. The conversation happened right there in the parking lot because I wasn't about to let her inside Franklin's place and make this his problem. She started with the crying immediately, asking me what happened. Why did I just disappear? She's been worried sick and didn't I care about that at all? I let her talk for about 2 minutes before I asked her one question. How long have you been sleeping with Leroy? The look on her face told me everything I needed to know before she even opened her mouth. She didn't deny it. She didn't act confused. She just went pale and asked how I knew. I told her I came home Thursday to surprise her for our anniversary. Told her I heard every word she said on that porch about her pathetic husband who thinks working makes him a man. Told her I heard her laugh with Leroy about how she could do better and already was. And you know what she said? She said I was taking it out of context. Out of context. Like there's some context where telling the neighbor you're sleeping with that your husband disgusts you is actually fine, and I just misunderstood. She tried to explain that Leroy was just easy to talk to because I was never home. That she felt alone. That she didn't mean what she said about me. She was just venting because our relationship had gotten stale, and she didn't know how to bring it up. She said it only happened a few times and it didn't mean anything. I asked her if 5 years of marriage meant anything. She didn't have an answer for that one. Out of context is doing Olympic-level heavy lifting in that sentence. Please, Zoe, explain to the class what context makes. I'm glad I don't have to pretend to be attracted to him anymore. A positive statement about your marriage. I'll wait. Was it opposite day? Were you rehearsing for a play? Were you doing a bit for a podcast neither of us knew about? And then immediately pivoting to, I was lonely because you worked too much. Ma'am, you were home. All day. Every day. You had more free time than a trust fund kid on summer break. You could have gotten a hobby, a job, a friend, a therapist, literally anything. Instead, you chose the divorced neighbor who does something with websites. She had infinite options and picked the path that would hurt her husband the most. And now, she wants to discuss communication. You had 5 years to communicate. You chose Leroy. Here's where it gets messier. Her mom Valerie called me that night. Zoe had gone crying to her parents and apparently told them I abandoned her without explanation and she had no idea why. So now Valerie is calling me asking what's going on because her daughter is falling apart and I need to come home and work this out like an adult. I told Valerie exactly what her daughter did. Every word I heard on that porch. The affair with Leroy. All of it. Valerie went quiet for a long time and then said there must be some misunderstanding because Zoe would never do that. She's a good girl who loves me. And I probably heard something wrong or took a joke the wrong way. Right. I took my wife saying she's glad she doesn't have to pretend to be attracted to me as a joke. These people really think I'm stupid. I told Valerie that the lease on the duplex is in my name only. Her parents helped with the deposit, but I'm the one who signed everything because Zoe's credit was garbage when we got married. I told her the utilities are in my name. The car insurance for both vehicles is in my name. And I'm done paying for a life that includes her daughter treating me like a joke she's tired of. Then I hung up. Now Zoe is texting me that I had no right to tell her mother those things. That I humiliated her in front of her family. That we need to talk about this privately like two adults, instead of dragging everyone into our business. Funny how she wants privacy now when she was broadcasting my failures to Leroy for months. Franklin says I should talk to a lawyer before I do anything else. He's probably right, but I'm not ready to make this official yet. I want her to feel what I felt. I want her to understand that every safety net she had was actually me, and now it's gone. The way Zoe ran to mommy and already started editing the narrative before Trent could even process what happened. That's not panic. That's strategy. She's already laying groundwork. I don't know why he left. I'm so confused. I'm the victim here. And Valerie with the, she's a good girl who would never, lady, your good girl was on your porch, that you helped pay for, telling the neighbor she's disgusted by her husband while he was out working his second job. Your good girl has been playing house with Leroy for months. At some point, parents need to accept that their child grew into a person who makes choices, and those choices have been garbage. But the part that sent me, you had no right to tell my mother. You called your mother first. You went crying to your parents. You opened that door. You don't get to run to family, spin your version, and then act betrayed when the truth shows up uninvited. That's not how any of this works. Update 2. Met with Zoe's dad Trent at a Denny's near the highway Wednesday morning. Yeah, his name is Trent too. Zoe thought it was cute when we started dating that her dad and I shared a name. Now it just feels weird. He showed up looking tired and ordered coffee without even glancing at the menu. Then he got straight to it. He told me he wasn't there to defend what Zoe did because he knew it was wrong. But he said I needed to understand something about his daughter before I made any permanent decisions. Zoe has always needed more attention than one person can give. That's how he put it. She was like that as a kid, as a teenager, always needing someone to make her feel special. He said her mother spoiled her, and he probably didn't push back enough. And when she married me at 22, they both hoped I would be enough for her because I seemed so devoted. I asked him if he knew about Leroy before last week. He said no. But he admitted, Valerie had mentioned a few months back that Zoe seemed happier lately, more energized. They assumed it was because things were going well between us. Now he realizes what that actually meant. Then he made his pitch. He wanted me to consider couples counseling before ending the marriage. He said Zoe made a terrible mistake, but she's still his daughter, and he believes people can change if they want to badly enough. He offered to pay for the counseling himself. I asked him why I should put in more effort when I've been working 2 jobs for 5 years while his daughter was home all day finding other men to entertain her. He didn't have a good answer for that. Here's what really got me, though. He mentioned that Zoe told them I was controlling, that I kept her isolated by working so much and never wanting to go out, that she felt trapped in our apartment with nothing to do and no one to talk to except the neighbor. She's been setting this up. While I was grinding myself down to pay our bills, she was already building her defense with her family, making me the villain so when everything fell apart she'd have people on her side. I told Trent Sr. that his daughter had every opportunity to get a job, make friends, build a life. I never stopped her. I encouraged her. But she didn't want responsibilities. She wanted someone else to handle everything while she did whatever she wanted. And now she's rewriting history to make her choices my fault. He looked uncomfortable, but didn't argue. After he left, I drove past the duplex. Leroy's car was in the driveway. Middle of a weekday, and he's just parked there like he belongs. I kept driving, but I saved that image in my head. Zoe texted me that night saying she heard I met with her dad, and she appreciated me hearing him out. Then she asked if we could have dinner somewhere neutral to talk without any family involved. Just us. She said she had things to explain that she couldn't say in front of anyone else. Franklin thinks it's a trap to manipulate me. He's probably right, but I'm going to meet her anyway, not because I want reconciliation, because I want to hear exactly what story she's going to try to sell me when there's no one else around to back her up. I want her to look me in the face and try to explain why I should forgive her for treating me like garbage for years. She's always needed more attention than one person can give. Sir, that's not an explanation. That's a warning label. You should have put on her forehead before I married her. You're essentially telling me your daughter is emotionally a black hole that consumes validation and still needs more? And your solution was to hope some devoted guy would figure it out? That's not a marriage. That's a hostage situation with a lease agreement. And the fact that he knew his wife raised her wrong, didn't push back, and now wants Trent to pay for therapy to fix what they broke? That's audacity passed down through generations. But here's what's keeping me up at night. Zoe had already told her family Trent was controlling. Before any of this exploded, she was pre-gaming her excuse. While this man was destroying his body working 2 jobs, she was at brunch with her mom, planting seeds about how isolated and trapped she felt. That's not someone who made a mistake. That's someone building a legal defense in real time. She knew this was coming because she was always planning to leave. She just wanted to make sure she looked like the victim when she did. Final update. Friday dinner happened at a chain restaurant near the mall. Neutral ground like she wanted. Zoe showed up in the dress she wore on our 2nd anniversary. Subtle. She ordered wine and tried to make small talk about how the restaurant had changed their menu since we last came here together. I let her run out of stalling tactics before I asked what she wanted to tell me. She took a breath and started her pitch. She said the marriage had been dead for 2 years, and we both knew it. She said I buried myself in work to avoid dealing with our problems and she was lonely, in a way I never tried to understand. She said Leroy was a mistake that happened because she needed someone to see her as more than just a wife waiting at home. And she said the things I heard on the porch were her trying to convince herself she didn't feel guilty about what she was doing. Then she said she still loved me and wanted to fix this if I was willing to try. I asked her when she was planning to tell me any of this before I accidentally overheard it. She didn't have an answer. So I gave her mine. I told her I filed for divorce Monday morning. I told her I gave 30 days notice to the landlord to terminate the lease. I told her I removed her vehicle from my insurance policy effective immediately, and she should probably not drive until she gets her own coverage. And I told her I forwarded our entire text history from the past month to both her parents so they could see how she tried to manipulate me even after getting caught. She asked how I could do this to her after 5 years together. I told her she did this to us. Every choice was hers. The affair, the lies, telling her family I was controlling before I even knew anything was wrong. She built this trap for herself, and I just stopped holding the door open for her. She started crying and saying I was destroying her life over one mistake, that I was being cruel because my ego was hurt and I wanted her to suffer, that this wasn't the man she married. I told her the man she married would have begged her to stay, would have gone to counseling and blamed himself for not being enough, would have forgiven her because he was too scared to start over. That man worked himself half to death for someone who laughed about him with her lover. That man doesn't exist anymore. I paid for my meal and left her sitting there. Didn't look back. She wore the anniversary dress to the divorce dinner. The manipulation playbook is so predictable at this point that it's almost insulting. Like, girl, you really thought the outfit that worked when he loved you was going to override months of betrayal? That's the energy of someone who's never had to earn anything in her life, just show up and expect results. And her whole pitch was basically, the marriage was dead and you knew it. No, he didn't. He was planning anniversary surprises. He was coordinating shift trades. He was buying her favorite cheap flowers. That man thought he was in a marriage. You decided it was dead and didn't bother telling him because you were too busy test driving the replacement. But that line at the end, that man doesn't exist anymore? That's the cleanest, most devastating thing I've heard in months. Because she banked on his desperation. She counted on him being too scared, too grateful, too beaten down to walk away. And she miscalculated badly. The version of Trent she married would have crawled back. This version paid for his meal and left her crying in a chain restaurant without looking back. Character development doesn't always look like becoming softer. Sometimes it looks like finally understanding your own worth. Zoe's mom, Valerie, texted me the next day, calling me heartless for blindsiding her daughter like that. But her dad sent a separate message saying he understood even if he wished things were different. Zoe moved back in with them that weekend since she has nowhere else to go. Leroy apparently wants nothing to do with the situation now that there's actual consequences involved. Funny how that works. I'm staying at Franklin's until I find my own place. I work my 2 jobs and I come home to a couch that's actually peaceful. No more walking on eggshells. No more wondering if I'm enough. Someone in the comments of my first post said I should make her feel what I felt. I did. She's living with parents who know exactly what she did, dumped by the man she cheated with, starting over at 27 with no job and no credit. She called me pathetic for thinking hard work made me a real man. Turns out being pathetic meant building a life she couldn't survive without. Leroy. My guy Leroy. This man was out here laughing on that porch about how Zoe could do better, acting like he was the upgrade, the prize, the main event, and the second there's actual weight to carry, vanished. Poof. Gone like he was never there. Because Leroy never wanted Zoe. He wanted the situation. A bored, married woman next door who thought he was interesting? Easy entertainment. A single woman with no income and no credit who needs actual support? That's a whole different product he didn't sign up for. Zoe traded a husband who worked 2 jobs to build her a life for a guy who does something with websites and disappeared when the website of their affair got a 404 error. And now she's 27, living with parents who know no job skills, no credit, no man, no plan, all because she couldn't appreciate what was right in front of her. Meanwhile, Trent's on Franklin's couch, and for the first time in 5 years, he's sleeping peacefully. That's not revenge. That's just natural consequences finally arriving on schedule.